When a woman is pregnant, it instantly puts her in what we would call a pro-inflammatory state. And that is done because being able to lower the immune system response allows the body to keep that pregnancy vital instead of having a miscarriage and seeing it as a foreign body and getting rid of it. So already that lowered immune system and the increase in hormones, especially estrogen, puts the mom in this pro-inflammatory state. So if you don't have enough vitamin D, then you can absorb the calcium as well as you need to. And if you don't have enough vitamin D, most likely you don't have enough vitamin K too. So it not only are you not absorbing what you need to of the calcium, but it's not getting put in the right place. So a lot of times it will be put into soft tissue formation instead of bone formation, which increases your risk for heart disease. And that's kind of a big deal.
Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Machell Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists, episode number 169. My name is Andrew.
And this is Machell. As always, welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. So,
Yeah,
we have lots of different things that we want to cover today, and we have almost no time because our guest today was amazing and super smart and very passionate and has a lot to say about stuff. So we want to give her all of the time, but we have a few cool things first.
I want to say, if you are interested in learning airway, I just went to a course with Dr. Aaron Elliott and Tarun Agarwal.
Agarwal.
I always say
T-Bone.
Thank you. I'm going to jack it up. T-Bone. You've heard him on the podcast. He annoyed many of you, and I told him that. Don't worry. And they have a course that is really kind of integrating sleep medicine or dental sleep medicine or airway health into a dental office, like what that looks like as far as workflow and medical billing and even down to like the impression and scanning and all of that stuff. So, and all these sleep appliances. So if that is something that you guys are really looking into and you've been taking some courses and you've just been dabbling and assessing and you're really ready to make that next step, that is a great course and it's through 3D Dentists. So I would encourage that. And I really thank them for letting me come and take the course with them. And I did end up podcasting with Tarun afterwards and drinking some wine and arguing a little bit. So that should be interesting wherever that comes out.
Yeah.
So
keep you updated on
keep your eye out
when and where that can be found. So awesome. So that must have been a fun weekend.
For me. Look at my book. Do you see all my little blue tabs?
Oh, I see all your little blue tabs.
I have a giant binder here and giant binder. It's probably got 500 pages here, and I have 1 gazillion blue tabs because I was just taking notes furiously and marking things so I can reference it later.
And if anyone wants to do the math on
they
that.
They said that was a first in their course.
Oh, whatever. If anyone wants to do the math on that, 1 gazillion for only 500 pages. Yeah. Let me know what that comes out to. What's the average number of tabs per page? This past weekend, I was in Yakima and in Seattle doing a local anesthesia exam as a proctor, which is different than being an examiner. And shout out to those students who said, "Hey, do you have a podcast? You sound really familiar."
Wow.
It was awesome. So, hey, everyone.
That is
You made it to the podcast now. Yay.
Awesome. And we're also going to share with you what a listener sent in to us. We are just loving this. If you guys have like a special story or something that maybe you heard something on the podcast and you reached out to that person, or you heard something on the podcast and it, I don't know, maybe lit a fire in you and created some enthusiasm for you to go do something else, or you will have a really cool way of practicing dental hygiene in a, super special setting. We would love to hear about that. And Kate is going to share with us her story and also about her mission work that she's going to be going on. I believe she's going to Africa. I think it's Kenya. And that was my first mission trip. It will steal your heart and never give it back, I promise. And we will have that recording after the interview portion of this lovely podcast. And she's not to be confused with our interviewee.
Exactly. So great story. We kind of talked a little bit about in the interview. You guys have heard Machell Hudson on the podcast. We love her. She brought her friend Katy to the podcast as a quick little favor for us, saying, hey, you guys have to listen to her. She's so smart. And we ended up talking a lot about health and nutrition, vitamin, the types of supplements, all of the things that we should know from, and we focused a little bit, we meant to focus on pediatrics, but we started really talking about the mothers, pregnant mothers, and then even before they become pregnant. So it really starts way early. And I think you guys are going to be really excited about this interview. So give it a good listen. Hey, Machell.
Yeah.
It's time for the interview.
Oh, but I had something else to say.
We need to let the experts talk now.
Fine.
Welcome to the interview portion of this here podcast. We have a very special two guests. We have a repeat offender, as they say, in Machell Hudson.
And I did not pay them to be on the show.
No. Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah. To kind of start all this off, Machell and I were talking. I'm like, I'm going to commission you to get me people to be on our podcast at Chicago Midwinter. Who do you got? And so it was about a month or so went by. She's like, I got the perfect person for you. And now she brought her friend Katy. You want to introduce her?
Katy Cameron is one of the sweetest, most passionate, smartest women I know. And I love her with my whole heart. And y'all get ready because you're going to be huge fans of hers as well.
Thanks, Machell. That's so sweet. I love you too.
This has been very nice. Like, you guys didn't get to hear like the first 30 minutes that we've been talking, but it's been very emotional and fun. So, but yeah, Katy, welcome to the podcast. This is going to be great.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm excited. You brought a notebook in front of you.
I got my notes. I don't want to miss anything.
Some things. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I think we're going to talk about some pregnancy and nutrition and outcomes that can happen when our nutrition isn't on point, and some fun genetics.
I love it.
Can I tell how this kind of came about a little bit?
Please do.
So I was talking to Andrew about how wonderful my friend Katy is, or, was, and we were going to it was going to originally be like just a short little 15 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
And of course, I had to purge on how much I love her and how smart she's a brainiac when it comes to all things, really, but gut health is amazing. So talking to Andrew, what was this, a month ago?
Yeah.
We decided to give her more time, and they wanted her to focus on, Andrew and Machell decided that they wanted her to focus on nutrition, pediatrics, preferably. So I talked to Katy, and she said, yeah, I've got a ton of information. And Katy and I worked together for Productive Dentist Academy, and we had a workshop a couple weeks ago, and she shows up and she has a belly. She got knocked up. And so how perfect is it that she's going to talk about this?
So timely.
You better be living what you're teaching.
Yes.
I guess that's the point.
And I am so happy to report that. Yeah.
Katy, before we get started with your topic though, where are you from? Can you give a little background of who you are?
I live in Bozeman, Montana, and I've been a hygienist for over 13 years. I would say that lasers is kind of my thing. That's where most of my passion is, other than oral systemic stuff. And just being able to share what I know with people has been really great. And meeting Machell through Productive Dentist Academy has been really fun and opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So I just am one of those people that can't stop learning. I'm constantly reading, almost obsessively, between patients, at home. I'm just all of the time listening to podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for over 7 years, and it's just a great way to learn. I think being able to do other things, you know, as a busy mom who works full time, you know, you can learn things when you're doing other stuff, which is super fun.
You're just beaming. Look at you.
I just love her.
She's so great. So are we focusing on pediatrics? Is that the game plan?
Well, I guess how I see it is, you know, it's more like leading into pediatrics. So you have to start with this whole pre-pregnancy thing, because that's really where it begins on that nutritional level and developmental level, and then kind of carrying on into the fetal development and beyond. So I kind of just take us to a point through gestation. And then I think that we've got quite a bit of stuff to talk about up until that point.
So are you saying that we start like even before pregnancy, like even like taking care of yourself before you even get pregnant?
Yes.
Is that where we're starting?
So, you know, those people that run marathons or do these big Ironman competitions, well, typically,
I know our kind.
You know, those type of people that do that.
Those aren't our people.
Those freaks.
Dr. Bond is one of those people.
I love those people.
Ultra marathoner.
My sweet Cindy Knott, Dr. Cindy Knott, she does that too.
Yeah. So those people typically would train and prepare for quite a long time before they do their big race. Mm-hmm. And I would say that preparing for pregnancy, to grow an entire human being, you have to prepare for quite a while. Ideally, to grow a pretty decent human being with great oral facial structure, you have to prepare at least a year in advance. Or we could say even that when leading up to, well, I guess from the time that you're born, and even this transgenerational kind of configuration from, you know, how nutrition affects the way our genes are expressed and how that gets passed on. And we can talk more about that here in a minute, but we really need to be preparing all of the time. There is never a time when we wouldn't want to prepare. So leading up into those childbearing years, and not just for women, but men too, because they're half of the genetic coding. So, you know, it's both men and women preparing for this conception.
And so what kind of things are they preparing? Like, is there a regimen that they're supposed to be doing?
Well, I guess maybe this is something that would be ideal for anyone, even if they weren't going to be conceiving a child. But so something basic like the things that we eat, complicated but basic. And then you have to look at the health status of where people are starting, because that's going to be different for everybody. So your environmental toxin status, where your hormone levels, where were your grandparents nutritionally, where were your parents nutritionally, and how does that affect you? Do you have any underlying infections? All of these things play into the outcome of when you conceive, how well you're able to conceive, and then the development of the child in utero and beyond.
I feel like I want to break down each of those components and talk about them a little bit, because I feel like that's a lot. Like you just said, oh, it's just like this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait.
Grandpa
simple. Got something to do with this?
This is really simple stuff, guys.
I mean, can you speak to like how those are, like, how do those play a part in all of these things?
Okay. So when you have these nutritional components, you have to think of how they affect your genetic expression. So not talking about like you having brown hair and brown eyes, those things are set. But these other things that get expressed through, you can think of these genetic variations as being switches that get turned on or off based off of environmental factors like toxins that you're exposed to, heavy metals, stress, whether it's emotional or physical, and your nutrition, so the things that you put into your body. And so because this is happening for everybody, when, let's say, thinking about your grandma being pregnant, she was pregnant with your mom. And then when she was pregnant with your mom, the eggs were developing in utero, which is where you existed. So all of the nutrition that was happening before that and before that and before that affects the cells within that egg and the nutrition that's expressed thereon and thereforth. So does that make sense?
Yeah. when you're talking about like toxins, like maybe environmental toxins, are you talking about because of where you live geographically? Or are you talking about like some of the foods and stuff that you're eating, or some of the things you're consuming getting into your system and the toxins coursing through your body that way?
Both. Yeah. So I feel
like sometimes you can't just move away. Like you're going to have toxins. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And even just so living in Bozeman, Montana, I'm not exposed to as many environmental toxins as like I was exposed to recently flying in to Chicago here. And so the whole time that we were, Machell, you and I were outside waiting for our Uber ride, all of these things going through my head about these environmental toxins that I'm being exposed to.
My baby is going to have toxins from Chicago.
And not to sound extreme, but these things do affect the outcome of the development of your baby. And then how all of these oral facial developments later on and how that affects their oral systemic health. And I mean, it is this cascade of events. So I was thinking about the exhaust from the cars and all of the receipts that I had touched throughout the day, which are covered in BPA, which is accumulative. All these toxins are accumulative. And the bad soap that I had washed my hands, in the bathroom. And
from the Wyndham Grand across from the Trump Towers. Which, I mean, already the stress from Trump Towers next door.
In the airport. I'm not commenting on the soap.
Just kidding, Wyndham Grand.
Yeah, just kidding.
Sorry to derail you. I do this a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I'm on track. But all of these things are accumulative. And so not just the things that we're eating, but the things that we're exposed to environmentally and how they have an impact on whether or not these expressions of our genes get, we could say, turned on or turned off. And so you can be born, you can come out of the womb with certain genetic variations turned on or off. And that could be in your favor or not in your favor based on the health of your mom before she got pregnant with you and during the time that she was pregnant with you.
And is there a way that later on that those can get turned on?
Yes. So that is the great thing about the genetic variations. They can be changed. So it's not a permanent thing like hair color, eye color, those things.
Tell me how stress factors into all of this, about turning on and off of genes, or what part that plays.
Well, just the toll that stress takes on the body, whether it be physical or emotional. There have been plenty of studies to show how emotional stress affects these genetic expressions, turning them on or off and having negative or positive effects. And same thing with physical stress. So if you're injured or if you have surgery, that's going to be a stressor. There's plenty of ways that we can learn to deal with the stress. So it's not that you would ever want to completely omit the stress from your life. That's impossible. But how we deal with it, breathing is a huge part of that. There's the, like heart math, there's your vagus nerve stimulation. That's a huge one in being able to have your body physiologically deal with the stress that is happening either physically or emotionally.
You say those like we should just know what those are. What are you talking about? What are these words?
I told you she was a brainiac.
So the vagus nerve is that connection between the gut and our brain. And so
we did learn about that in school.
We did.
That's right. Sorry, keep refreshing my memory.
We can stimulate it by gargling really hard. That is one of the ways that you can stimulate it. You're laughing.
No one can see that I'm laughing. Therefore, it's not happening. Gargling?
Yeah. So to stimulate that vagus nerve.
Okay. Like with mouthwash, with water.
With water.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what does that do? So it calms you? It stimulates the nerve?
Yeah, it stimulates the nerve.
How this is working.
And this is a little bit harder to explain and not something that is my specific specialty. So I would say that, there's lots of information out there about vagal nerve stimulation and how that helps to reduce stress. So if somebody's interested in learning more about that, then they can seek that information out because there's tons more out there. So I'd encourage you to do that.
That's good. It's almost like you practice like sidestepping questions that you don't have answers to. I'm very proud of you. That was a good one. I need to learn. All right. Where are we going from here?
Okay. So now let's say that the woman really worked on her nutrition and built up her specific nutrient stores, and then she became pregnant. So when a woman is pregnant, it instantly puts her in what we would call a pro-inflammatory state. And that is done because being able to lower the immune system response allows the body to keep that pregnancy vital instead of having a miscarriage and seeing it as a foreign body and getting rid of it. So already that lowered immune system and the increase in hormones, especially estrogen, puts the mom in this pro-inflammatory state. For us as hygienists, when we think about pregnant women, what are we dealing mostly with, in the office when they come in for an appointment?
Gingivitis.
Yes. Or like pregnancy gingivitis. So often we're seeing this quote unquote pregnancy gingivitis, but what is that? What would you say that is? Do you have an explanation for what that is?
Like, what do I tell them?
Yeah.
Like they're like, well, I've noticed more bleeding recently.
Yeah. So my gums are bleeding more. What's that? What would you say that was from? What
I learned is that they have, I say it's hormones, but I also tell them that great home care can actually reverse that, because that's what I've found to be true.
Yes, I agree. I do think that 9 out of 10 times it is, what are they doing at home?
Mm-hmm. Because I feel like a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm so exhausted because my body's run down that I just don't do the home care things that I'm normally doing. And when I start to ask them the exploratory questions, that ends up being more often not the issue. We learned in school about the bacteria that's, found in pregnant women only, and that can have a contributing factor as well.
True. Yeah.
But like other bacteria, just kind of the way I understand it, you're the expert, so tell me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand it, as long as you're keeping it in check, then it shouldn't manifest in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. So I am so glad that you answered the way that you did in saying that pregnancy gingivitis is inherently from an increase in hormones, because I think that's mostly what people are thinking that it's from. But physiologically, if you think about how that is or why that would be, that just doesn't make sense to me. So when you look up, okay, what is, like if I were to Google, what is pregnancy gingivitis and why is it happening? They'll tell you that because of the increase in hormones, that it allows for an increase in blood flow to the tissues of the mouth. So that's why suddenly the mouth becomes more reactive to the quote unquote irritants that might be in there. Mm-hmm. And that just doesn't jive well. That's just not basic physiology. So that just that's not how it works. So what is really happening is with that lowered immune response, and when you have this, let's say a woman that doesn't have perfect nutritional status, so somebody, just an average person that's possibly eating the standard American diet, most definitely that woman is nutrient deficient. So without a doubt, they're deficient in vitamin D and vitamin C. So those are really big hitters when it comes to oral health. So when you're deficient in vitamin C already going into the pregnancy, when you are pregnant, that development of all of those tissues and the cells and the membranes and everything going towards the placenta and the fetus, it depletes you more of vitamin C. So you have this lowered immune system, this lowered vitamin C, which lowers your immune system even more, probably having low vitamin D, and most likely the presence of oral pathogens. That's where you get pregnancy gingivitis. And it's not from an increase of hormones and flow of blood to these oral tissues. That's just not what's happening. So when you have somebody that comes in with pregnancy gingivitis, yes, we want to work on self-care at home. Of course we want to do that. But that's really not what I have seen help these women. So I have them start taking vitamin C, and then we test them to see if they have specific, periodontal pathogens present. So you don't have to have periodontal disease to have these periodontal pathogens present. If they have these pathogens present and they have this lowered immune system and this lowered resistance, we would want to make sure that we get rid of those because of this overwhelming effect that those pathogens could potentially have on the fetus or the mom. that 40% of preterm births are because of some type of infection. So periodontal pathogens are not excluded from that.
True.
So I think this allows us to really understand what's happening physiologically so that we can help them better. Because just saying that it's from increased hormones, that just doesn't make sense.
So as kind of a tangent, kind of follow-up question, when you are how do you feel as being a hygienist recommending vitamins?
I'm totally okay with that.
I do it too.
Yeah. And it's within our scope of practice. Yeah. Especially if you're really understanding the physiology and why it's happening, I think you can feel more comfortable about making specific recommendations. And it's kind of pregnancy gingivitis to me, when I think about it, is kind of like scurvy. So you don't hear much about scurvy, right. But because
there's no pirates running around the ship nowadays.
Because most women are entering into their pregnancy already nutrient deficient, not getting enough vitamin C. Maybe they're going through that first trimester, not eating the proper foods because they don't feel well. That just adds to this reduction in more nutrients. Therefore, this display of the bleeding gums. And then with those periodontal pathogens present, possibly, most likely, it just exacerbates the situation because those pathogens are opportunistic. So they see this kind of window of time to get in there and do their thing.
Yeah. Continue on. What else are we learning about?
Okay. So how we can ask ourselves, how can nutrition support this prenatal health and the development of the fetus? And a lot of women will automatically start taking prenatal vitamins. That's pretty standard. Does your wife take prenatal vitamins?
She did.
She did.
When
you were at that point.
Way back in the day when we were having kids.
Back in the day.
It's been several years. And also, again, side note, sometimes when they want their nails to get stronger or something, people take those prenatals. So bizarre.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of women, and this is probably expressed to them through their health care that they're getting from the OBGYNs, not to knock them down, but not all prenatals are created equally, just like all other vitamins, they're not created equally. There's a ton of those prenatal vitamin products out there that are synthetic, which makes them not bioavailable, meaning they're not as well utilized and absorbed into the body as, say, whole foods or a whole food supplement. I think that's a really great place where women can start to look.
So what would you recommend? What are you taking?
I take a whole food supplementation through a company called Innate, but there's quite a few companies out there that you can find through Google. Just look up whole foods supplementation, and there's some specific things to look for in that. So you want to make sure that there is methylated folate in there. So if that would look on the bottle, it would show up as 5-MTHF. And we can talk about that in a second. And then there's a couple other things to specifically look for. But even if you're getting your supplementation from a whole food source, it's more like an insurance policy. And you should be having that supplement at least a year before to build up those nutrient stores, along with a clean diet without inflammatory foods and things like that. So when you take that supplement, making sure that it's the whole food supplement, we can kind of break down some of these other nutrients one by one. And I don't normally like to talk about things as an individualized nutrient because they all work together and some don't work as well when you take them with other things. But to make it more simple, I think if we break it down, then we can talk about them a little more individually. So as I was saying before, some big hitters are vitamin C and vitamin D, but setting vitamin C to the side for a minute, we can talk about vitamin A, D, and K2, which are huge. Yeah, those guys are really big.
These are cute. Huge.
They're so huge. So why are they huge? Because they are absolutely critical for bone and tissue development, which is going to play a big role in oral facial development. So if you are deficient in any of those nutrients, which most people are, and a lot of people aren't even testing for them, then you're going to see, malformations of the face and the jaw or other parts of the body. So let's take vitamin D and vitamin K2. So vitamin D allows for the absorption of calcium. And then vitamin K2 comes up and supports that calcium and carries it to the place where it's designed to be. So if you don't have enough vitamin D, then you can't absorb the calcium as well as you need to. And if you don't have enough vitamin D, most likely you don't have enough vitamin K2. So it not only are you not absorbing what you need to of the calcium, but it's not getting put in the right place. So a lot of times it will be put into soft tissue formation instead of bone formation, which increases your risk for heart disease. And that's kind of a big deal.
That's just a little bit. It's kind of a huge deal.
Yeah. And over 50% of women, pregnant women, are already deficient in vitamin D. So it would be a good idea to suggest that a pregnant woman get tested for vitamin D. And I have to say that the most OBGYNs aren't asking pregnant women about their vitamin D levels, because I ask all pregnant women about their vitamin D levels and if their doctor has tested for it. And it's not part of that pre-pregnancy or that initial pregnancy panel that they do.
Is there a reason for that?
I think it's just a lack of knowledge about the importance of what that means for fetal development and heart disease risk. And not many people talk about vitamin K2. In fact, it's only shown up in the literature officially, I think, since about 2006. Even though Weston A. Price, not sure if you're familiar with him, I know you know who he is, Machell, but he's talked about it way back in his day. He just didn't have the name for it. And so then they labeled it vitamin K. And so you can get vitamin K. There's two forms of vitamin K. So you have vitamin K1, which you can get from dark leafy greens, which is great because that helps with blood clotting, which we definitely need. But then there's vitamin K2 that you can get from, the highest source of vitamin K2 comes from, I think I'm pronouncing it right, natto, which is fermented soy. And it's not the soy that you're getting the vitamin K2 from. It's the bacteria used to ferment that soy. So that's the highest, and it doesn't taste that great. Have you ever had it, Machell?
I have not.
Yeah, it doesn't taste that great.
Is it a drinkable thing? I feel like I might have seen it like in the Asian markets, like in a little drinkable.
I'm not sure. It's been a really long time since I've had it. Yeah, but you can get it from other fermented sources. So like sauerkraut, lots of grass-fed meats and fats are a great source of vitamin K2. So liver is a big one.
What's the supplement that you had me take before we did our 14er for iron?
Oh, that was Pharaoh food.
So that would be a good supplement to take. Yes, for that.
You can't get vitamin K2 from that, but
you want to get it from your whole foods.
You want to get it from your whole foods, but you can supplement with vitamin K2 because, again, a lot of people, even if they're taking their prenatal, it's not having vitamin K2 in it, and their diet probably doesn't consist of a whole lot of liver, even though you'll need to eat the liver a couple times a week to get the maximum benefit from it. And I think all of these nutrients that I'm going to talk about, liver, except vitamin C, liver is one of the main sources. So liver happens to be the biggest superfood out there, but you can take it in desiccated form, which is just
desiccated meaning like dried out powder.
Dried out powder in a capsule.
Might be more palatable. I'll take my capsule and onions or whatever.
I wish everyone could see the look on Andrew's face.
I know, but don't knock it till you try it.
All right. That's fair. That's a fair deal.
So you could here, just a quick tip. You could freeze the grass-fed beef liver or chicken liver. And then it's really easy to grate into some grass-fed ground beef. And then you could make meatballs or just put it right into your
cook it first.
Spaghetti sauce. Yeah. No, it's raw, frozen, and then you just grate it right into the ground meat.
Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be too bad.
Stephen Lynn's book, The Dental Diet, has some recipes in the back of the book.
It's really not that bad. So I'm not, suggesting necessarily that people just cook up big old beef liver.
That's just bizarre. We hope you said liver and some sauerkraut. Get those things together.
There's worse things.
We're not going to dinner at Katy's.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, please don't invite us.
You are uninviting yourself.
Yeah.
Kidding. So eat whatever you serve me.
Yeah, it would be delicious.
I think that she could probably trick us into eating some liver.
She would.
It would be good for you. It's a superfood. Okay. So you guys, let's move on to folic acid. You're familiar with folic acid, right?
No.
But
please explain to our student listeners.
Well, have you heard in the news lately how they're making it mandatory for folic acid supplementation into all of these products as a mandatory thing?
No, I did not hear that.
Yeah. So it's been on the news recently, which when we talk about folic acid versus folate, I mean, everybody, I think, knows that you're supposed to have folic acid or some source of that for pregnancy to help prevent neural tube defects. That's kind of common knowledge. I mean, everybody talks, oh, women need their folic acid. Well, folic acid is the synthetic form of folate. So folate comes from the whole food source from like legumes and liver and a few other things, even squash. So the folic acid in its synthetic form, again, is not bioavailable and actually blocks the receptor sites where folate is absorbed. So if
a double whammy almost.
It's a double whammy. But yeah, that's a double whammy. So if you are somebody who's eating processed foods, folic acid is automatically supplemented into things like cereals and grains and breads and things like that. Because years ago, they put folic acid into these products that people were eating because they were seeing all these neural tube defects because women weren't getting folate from real food sources. So I don't know if it was the FDA, but they decided to just automatically put it in there to kind of cover the bases. Well, now that we know a lot more about these genetic variations and how they work, if somebody has that genetic variation MTHFR, then it's going to be especially detrimental to them to be exposed to folic acid because it's going to prevent even further the methylation process of folate and the absorption. And then those people end up having babies with any kind of midline defect. So the midline defects that we can see are tongue ties. A huge one is anencephaly. Are you guys familiar with that? So it's where the baby's brain kind of stops growing and it doesn't fully close. The sutures on the cranium don't fully close. Spina bifida is a big one, increases the risk for miscarriage and preeclampsia. So the effects of what folic acid is doing to block those receptor sites, or if somebody is just not getting that methylated form of folate, it's a really big deal for the health of themselves and increasing their risk for heart disease, schizophrenia, dementia. I mean, the list goes on, as well as the effects that it's having on the fetus. So that's one thing to definitely look for on your prenatal vitamins and to be supplementing with, if it's not, with food and just a regular supplement. So 5-MTHF is what that would look like on the supplement form.
So you're saying that in the news that they wanted to start adding folic acid, the synthetic, into everything?
And they already add it into so many things, but I don't remember the exact literature of what was said, but it has been in the news that it's going to be this mandatory, like add it across the board to so many things. But if you stay away from processed foods, then you're staying away from that folic acid.
Okay, but even so, the American diet's processed food. So how is it not? I mean, how is this being allowed? I guess if we know that this is the thing, is it big folic acid doing it? Like the big folic acid companies are just paying all the money to get in everything, huh?
Well,
big pharma and big sugar.
Yeah, it's all about that big pharma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the money and that big pharma. As bad as that sounds, it's really what it comes down to. So I can't answer that. I mean, why? Why are they doing that?
It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's not good.
Are there people in our government that's supposed to be like protecting us from this? So yeah. So the answer is yes, they just aren't. Okay. We can move on.
Okay. Well, so another nutrient that we can pick out is choline. And the biggest source of choline would, again, be from liver and eggs and grass-fed muscle meat.
She's trying to shove liver down our throats.
Being indoctrinated. I think big liver's paying her money.
Choline isn't.
Just kidding, buddy. Just kidding.
But I mentioned choline because it's not typically added into prenatal vitamins, whether they're synthetic or whole foods based. I think it's something that women really need to take a look at and make sure that they're getting great sources of choline. Again, all of these nutrients should be coming from grass-fed, organic, would be ideal. If you can't get that, then of course, anything that you can. Grain-fed animals aren't going to be as nutrient dense as grass-fed animals, and then if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, then you've got to look up how to supplement through that. I know that there's some plant sources, but I'm not totally well versed on all of the plant sources for these nutrients. But I think there's a way around it for sure, especially if you're able to eat great sources of dairy and have eggs, things like that, animal fats, so grass-fed butter and things like that. But choline is essential for the development of the brain and has been linked to high IQ for the babies. So that's kind of an important one.
So what do you think is going to be more important, choline or like baby Einstein music when the baby's born for high IQ?
You can't say that with a straight face.
I feel like they're both equally important.
I think that's a parental decision. But as far as nutrition goes,
as far as the evidence is proving,
right? Choline is the one. Oh, and so if you do look on your whole food supplement, the thing to look for is the methylated form of choline, which is phosphatidylcholine. So you would want to make sure that your supplement says that. Okay, so omega-3s. Whoop, whoop. Yep, we love those.
Sure do.
And I'm not
eating from fish, not liver. I mean, they could probably read from liver
but
too.
Cod liver.
Got me on that one.
I told you it was in all of a mix of vitamin C. So cod liver oil is a great supplement for anybody to take. It helps reduce inflammation and is a great source of omega-3. So you can, sardines is a good one, salmon or canned sardines with the bones, because then you get calcium too.
I love sardines.
I love sardines.
Okay. So Katy recommended that I start eating sardines, and I bought them. What was that, about a month ago, Katy, that you told me I need to start eating that? I look at that every day.
Oh, you just got to go for it.
I just can't.
But
I haven't done it
yet. Like
tuna fish, right?
I love tuna fish.
You're going to love sardines.
I am going to say that is not exactly a thing. That's not the same.
It is a
taste.
thing. It is better. It's like tuna fish.
I love sardines. Don't get me wrong. I just don't feel like that's the
It's
same.
like tuna fish with flavor.
Okay, so tell us what kind of sardines, because there's like in oil, in water, in tomato sauce, in this and that. Whatever.
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't even think about the specifics of that. So wild caught, without a doubt, wild caught. Don't get anything that's not wild caught. And in olive oil or water. But I don't know, do they make sardines that are available in other types of oil? I would definitely.
I don't think any of the types of oil, but like tomato sauce is a big one. They're in tomato sauce.
Really?
Yeah, you go for that.
I'll tell you what. I have, okay, so in my van. Okay, let me tell you.
In my van.
With the tinted out windows. Like, hey, come have some sardines in my van. That's not what happens.
Because that's what you were leading into.
I know. Well, hold on. Let me tell you this. So in
my van,
my car got smushed when I got in a car.
I remember that.
So then I started driving Allison's van, and she got the new nice vehicle. And I have the 2002 Ford Windstar, and it is a beast. In my glove box, I have 2 cans of sardines from the Philippines. I like it from the Philippines. Personal choice, 555 or Ligo. Both are great brands. I don't know about their nutritional content. Probably not the best, but they taste delicious. And then what I do, I eat the headless ones, right? Mm-hmm. And then like take because again, Philippines, we use fork and a spoon at the same time. I take that and open up like down the
center, the
belly of it. And I take the little strip of bone out. I don't eat the bone. Do I need to eat the bone?
Eat the bone. That's a great source of calcium.
Is that where all the folate is or whatever?
No folate that I know of, but calcium, a great source of calcium.
I don't care for the calcium in that particular one. But then you just put it back together and you just eat it. Oh my gosh. How do we feel about rice?
Oh, that's a great question.
Do we like rice?
It depends on the status of your gut health and where you're at. Like if somebody has small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, rice is not going to be good for them because of it being a fermentable carbohydrate. So it's going to feed the wrong kind of bacteria in the wrong spot, which is going to cause an exacerbation of that condition. So it would just have to.
Do we know a percentage of the people that have SIBO at all?
A huge percentage.
Most of us.
Most.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, most Americans or most of the world?
Probably
I would say most of the world.
Yeah.
Really? Because it's so big in so many countries.
Look at our diets.
Yeah.
Sardines and rice. Well, tomato sauce.
You and that tomato sauce.
I will try them when I get home.
When you come visit me, we'll try them together.
You know how I eat them? I take a lettuce boat, like romaine lettuce or butter lettuce. I put the sardines in. And then I put avocado on top and then just a little bit of hot sauce. And it is so good.
Okay.
That is a great tip. Mm-hmm. If you listeners didn't learn a single thing in this episode, that is how you eat sardines.
That is how you eat them.
That is amazing. Mm-hmm. You should have led with that. So let me talk about my van story.
You went there.
Ridiculous.
That's my favorite part. That's hilarious. That's the funny of the show.
Okay, sorry. Continue on.
So vitamin C, just to touch on that again.
Let's circle back to that.
No liver with that. Excellent. So you're off the hook on that one. So vitamin C is a huge, like I said earlier, immune booster. And it's super responsible for building collagen, which is important when we're trying to build oral facial structures that look really nice and are healthy later on.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because there are a lot of people who take vitamin C, but they're probably not taking the right vitamin C supplement.
So I was going to ask that question too, because like Emergent C is something that people always take.
And that's not a good source.
No,
yeah,
and you want to make
sources.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're getting true vitamin C from a food source, not ascorbic acid. So there's different parts when you break down vitamin C to, what is the part that you want? You don't want the ascorbic acid that's extremely acidic and is not bioavailable and can cause problems. So what we want to do is get them from food sources. You can supplement with it, but one of the biggest sources of vitamin C, and I talked about this at the PDA event, is camu. And so it's a plant in the rainforest, which is extremely high in vitamin C. But what's important to know here too is that we can only absorb about 200 milligrams of vitamin C at a time. So you need to space out your vitamin C consumption throughout the day. And vitamin C requirements go up when you're pregnant, but everybody can benefit from vitamin C. It helps us look younger because of that collagen building. But other great sources of vitamin C are red peppers, kiwi. Oranges aren't as high as some of the other things. Rose hips. So like you could make.
Just don't look at me anymore. No question.
Okay.
What was it? Camu?
Camu.
Is that found in the States? Like, can we buy it at Whole Foods?
You can get it in supplement form or powder form.
I started taking it right after I ordered it at the event. So what is that? 2 weeks that I've been putting it in my morning smoothie, the camu powder, and that Katy had recommended. And I feel better. And I don't know if it's because I
placebo effect, or is it because all the collagen that's all of a sudden happening or whatever?
And I was already taking vitamin C, but I think that really has helped.
I've been taking it for a couple of years now, and I have noticed a significant difference just in my energy levels even, and I almost never get sick. That stuff is amazing. I mean, it's one of those things that you take and you actually feel a difference.
I came back from my mission. I went on a mission trip in January, and I came back with a parasitic infection. And so I was really struggling with fatigue. And so start that vitamin C. I feel like, yes, my body's getting, I was healing already, but I feel like that played a big part. And again, I was taking a vitamin C, and a good vitamin C, I thought, but I feel like that was like vitamin C on steroids.
It is vitamin C on steroids.
Yeah. Minus the steroids.
The steroids.
Because those would be bad for you. Those are not the nutritional content that you want. Don't take it in that form.
Well, and like the information that I sent you, Machell, and like what I talked about at PDA is one of the things that camu was used for historically in the populations that had founded it was to actually treat gum infections and periodontal disease. So it all on its own has benefits towards that.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. So we can't talk about nutrients without talking about the things that affect us in a negative way nutritionally, which most people know is sugar. Sugar is a big one. It's in pretty much all processed foods, especially if you pick things that are fat-free or reduced fat. They have to replace the flavor that you get from fat with something, and that happens to be sugar. Again, try to stay away from processed foods and just eat whole foods. And another one that some people know, but it's worth sharing, is bad oils and how inflammatory they are. And those bad oils would be any industrial seed oils that are man-made, so like canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, peanut oil, all of those trans fats, hydrogenated oils, all of those things take nutrients away from us and cause inflammation in the body. And I would even go as far to say is that the consumption of sugar and bad oils is worse than smoking cigarettes. And we tell pregnant women not to smoke, but we typically don't focus a lot on telling them not to consume bad oils and sugar.
What about sugar substitutes, and what are also the good oils to use?
Well, sugar substitutes are just as bad as sugar, I guess with the exception of stevia. I personally try to stay away from stevia also. I don't think it tastes good, and I'm not so sure about the effects of it, but I think if you're going to pick a sugar substitute, stevia is probably the one.
What about monk fruit?
I tend to think it's cloyingly sweet. And if you're accustomed to eating whole foods, most of the time, then having those additional sweeteners, I think, is just not necessary. But I know that that's in a lot of, more natural products. Monk fruit is used to sweeten quite a bit, but I haven't done any research or come across specifics about monk fruit. And then the oils that we want to include are fats from grass-fed animals, like I had been saying. So grass-fed butter, lard from properly raised pigs, beef tallow from grass-fed cows, things like that. And then avocado oil, coconut oil, any of those types of oils are going to be great options. And you just have to look up the stability of them when you heat them, as they're not all created equally that way. So that information.
What are you looking for?
So when you heat an oil, it breaks it down, and you don't want that oil to oxidize, which then creates the formation of oxidation in your body and free radicals, increasing your risk for heart disease and cancer and other diseases.
If the heat's too high, that's what happens. Heat's too low.
So some oils can't be heated at all, and some should just be lightly heated. Some can withstand high heat, like avocado oil can withstand high heat without oxidizing. Olive oil cannot stand high heat without oxidizing. So you wouldn't want to roast your vegetables or fry food in olive oil. So olive oil is really great for us, and we should use it in salads, or if we're going to just lightly heated, but definitely not wanting to use it if we're going to be roasting or frying or anything.
Coconut oil is the same, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Interesting.
Then I guess kind of leading into just more facial development for the fetus and nutrition, thinking about when the teeth are formed. And I remember this from way back in hygiene school when we learned that the teeth start forming at 6 weeks in utero. Do you guys remember that?
Embryology, histology, that's just a long time ago.
Yeah. So for some reason that always stuck in my mind about when that was formed, because a lot of women don't even know that they're pregnant at 6 weeks. I mean, they kind of start to figure it out at that point, but that just goes right back into what I was talking about when we first started talking, was that whole pre-pregnancy nutrition and how important it is, because the teeth and the jaw and those facial structures have already started forming so early on. And if you don't get that nutrition in at that early point, then the damage, so to speak, could have already been done and you've missed your window of opportunity. But then the teeth continue to develop. And so the tooth buds are fully formed by about 8 weeks. And then the permanent teeth start to form at 20 weeks. And that's right where I'm at right now, 20 weeks.
Aww.
And it's just crazy to think that those permanent tooth buds and that structure is already being laid down.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it is really neat.
If I can jump ahead lots and lots of weeks, so the baby's born. Not enough attention was paid for proper nutrition. And maybe they are a little bit deficient in maybe some of the structural components of the face and the jaw. So is there a way to still help boost that production? I mean, I guess what I don't want people to go away from is thinking that like, oh darn, I didn't do a good enough job. All is lost.
Yeah. And I don't want people to think that either, because all is not lost. Like I was saying earlier, those genetic variations with the switches on or off can be changed. And one of the biggest things that can help with oral facial development is breastfeeding. And I know that not all situations allow for breastfeeding. If adoption or, situations, there's many situations where that's just not allowable. I would say try, because the bottle, when a baby is feeding from the bottle, can in no way mimic what the breast can do and how that helps with that oral facial development. So I'd say that that's one of the biggest things. And then the nutritional needs of a breastfeeding mom are even higher than that of a pregnant woman. So I'd say just at any point that you can start with that nutritional aspect. And there's even, if you have to formula feed your baby, you can look for the best formula based off of nutritional requirements for the baby. And all that information is out there for people. They just have to seek it out. Or you can make it at home. So there's recipes for homemade formula that can suffice and help with that development.
I think that this is such great information, but I think for some of the listeners, they're going to be like, this is like, they're not going to know where to go. Katy, it's so much information and they're going to want to do it, but how are they going to do it? And so will you give us just in a day, like what do you consume in a day? Kind of like, what is your nutrition, supplementation plus your whole food? What do you do?
What do I eat in a day?
Yes. And then, yes. And your supplements. What supplements are you taking?
Okay. So my supplements that I'm taking is that whole food prenatal vitamin. I take cod liver oil. I take vitamin D.
And I'm really sorry to kind of interrupt. Is this all in the morning that you take this, or do you take it multiple times throughout the day?
I take a bulk of my supplements in the morning and then some midday. So that can look different for everybody. But for what I'm taking, mostly in the morning and then some midday or when I get home from work. But it's best to take the supplements with food because of the absorption. So if you take it on an empty stomach, you're not going to get as much absorption out of that. So let's see, I'm taking quite a few things. I take the camu and vitamin D, and I just had my vitamin D retested. So this is a great example of how vitamin D is used up in pregnancy for the baby. So before I got pregnant, my vitamin D was at 90, and I just had it checked and got the results today, and it was at 64. So I've been taking the same amount of vitamin D, and that was just over let's say a 5-month period. So I'm still within that great range. 64 is still great, but just seeing that number go down because of the nutritional needs of the baby. Okay, so what else am I taking? Vitamin K2 supplement. I take a probiotic, and I take a couple other things. One is to make sure that I don't become insulin resistant, because that's a really big thing that can happen during pregnancy. And so just constantly checking, and I check in on my blood glucose levels pretty regularly through the day. So I don't have to go through the horribleness of that yucky orange glucose test that they make pregnant women do. And then what I eat in a day is, for breakfast, eggs from pasture raised organic chickens, and greens. I eat tons of leafy greens every day, try to get them 3 meals a day, and sauerkraut, and sometimes liver, sometimes not. And like right now, I've been having about a half of a grapefruit with breakfast too. So that's breakfast. Sometimes I'll do a protein shake, because the camu fits right into that. And then for lunch, sardines, sometimes with the avocado and the hot sauce, or canned salmon with homemade mayonnaise, and some type of greens and berries. And then for dinner, I have some type of grass-fed meat. And I haven't been eating too many complex carbohydrates lately, just trying to monitor those blood sugars. But so again, leafy greens in a salad, or some type of cruciferous vegetable, and grass-fed meat and tea. So that's what I eat. But great sources for people to look this information up to get more and learn more. Weston A. Price Foundation is a really great source of information. And that kind of ties into Dr. Stephen Lin. He's used a lot of that information to write his book. And I feel like his book is a great source of modern information to look at pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, development. And he has tons of stuff on Instagram and Facebook. And so he's very active in getting this information out there.
And he's easy to understand. He makes it very simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then another great book that I love is Dr. Ben Lynch wrote a book all about epigenetics. That's the study of these genetic variations that I've been talking about so much. And his book is called Dirty Genes. So that one is awesome.
Exclamation point.
Yes.
That's what that was. People are going to want to reach out and ask you more questions. You okay getting out an email address or something that they can contact you by?
Yeah. They can contact me at katy@productivedentist.com. That's Katy.
I'll put it in the show notes too. Okay. So you can just click on it and email away.
Nice.
You're amazing.
Yeah, you are amazing.
Thanks.
Thank you for being, I feel like I'm cutting you short, and I'm really sorry about that. But I mean, we're hour plus in. Right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Hopefully we'll edit it down to be like 55 minutes. Because I did say a lot of nonsense. So anyways, but yes, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're the best, and so are
thanks
you, Machell.
For doing
Machell, thanks for letting me play you.
Yeah. The upgraded version of.
Nah, I did not say that.
It's all right. I did. And this is my podcast now. So
I do not believe that.
Well,
I adore her.
Hi guys, my name is Katy Pospischal. I'm 28 years old, and I have been a dental hygienist in the awesome state of Wisconsin for 4 years. A little bit about me is right out of hygiene school, I worked as a temp for about a year in different private practice offices around the state of Wisconsin, which was honestly one of the most terrifying experiences of my life, but also one of the best learning opportunities for me as a dental hygienist. I was able to figure out what style of office I really liked working in, and also I was able to figure out what styles I did not like working in. After about a year of temping, I took a full-time job at a pediatric dental office where I was doing both hygiene and assisting. We did 6-handed operative appointments with one assistant, one hygienist, and the dentist. How it would work is I would administer all the local anesthetic and the nitrous oxide before the dentist would get into the room. Here in Wisconsin, hygienists are allowed to administer both local anesthetic and nitrous oxide, which is awesome. I loved my time there. I learned a lot. But after a year of working with mainly just kids, I knew I needed a change. That leads me to my current job of working as a dental hygienist in a public health setting. The majority of my patients I see are on state assistance and or Medicaid. I've been here for almost 2 years and I absolutely love it. I am a part of 3 community outreach committees, one of which I've been a part of for 7 years, and I am the co-chair of. Giving back to my community and volunteering has always been a passion of mine. An event happened in my personal life earlier this year, which made me realize how short life really is, and that I needed to start taking actions towards bucket list items I've always dreamt of completing. I've always wanted to go on a mission trip, but one has never come across my path at a time in my life where I could go. I have been a religious listener and follower to A Tale of Two Hygienists since they first started, and have messaged Machell and Andrew questions periodically. So with this long shot idea, I reached out to both of them asking if they knew of any hygienists internationally who have traveled or have done mission trips. Machell put me in contact with a wonderful woman named Rachel England, who has worked as a dental hygienist for many years in Switzerland, but now is the public health manager for the FDI. Rachel has gone to Atong, Kenya, twice before and has provided quality and safe dental care for their community. In Kenya is one dentist for 45,000 people. I know, jaw-dropping. After hearing that statistic, it made me realize how lucky I am to live where I do, where I have excellent health care at my fingertips. Rachel asked if I was interested in joining her team of dental professionals from around the world to help in Atong this summer from July 19th to the 26th, and I couldn't say yes quickly enough. The more information Rachel fed me about this mission trip, I knew I made the right decision to go. Last August, they went, and their impact was they did 77 dental extractions, 19 dental fillings, 26 cleanings, 81 child dental screenings. They provided 2,000 toothbrushes and toothpaste, and they gave out 270 reusable sanitary kits. The website where everyone can get more information is www.masaimolar.com, which is spelled MAASAIMOLAR.com. This website showcases many beautiful photos of the children at St. John's II Mission School with whom we partner with. It has the mission statement, and it also includes a published article that Rachel was interviewed for, highlighting the enormous impact they have had on the Atong community. I will have Machell and Andrew share this website with everyone so you can check it out and fall in love with this cause just as quickly as I did. I have started a GoFundMe account to help pay for my food, shelter, supplies, and travel costs. Additionally, I will have Machell and Andrew share my GoFundMe link. If you could find it in your heart to donate any amount, I will forever be grateful. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm excited to come back and tell everyone about this life-changing trip.
Well, you know I never love when you do a podcast without me, mostly.
Yeah, we had 2 new co-hosts in waiting right there.
Mm-hmm.
And Katy said that she wanted to come back and do some more episodes with us, so I'm sure...
That would be great. It would be great. Well, great job to them, not you, but
yes,
to them.
Absolutely, to them.
Also, thank you to Kate, who sent in that, and again, send it to us. We also want to thank PDT over and over again. They're sponsors of the CE portion of this podcast, and please show your love and appreciation to them. Check them out. Go to their booth. Ask your distributor about some PDT instruments because, I mean, once you go to Montana Jack, you ain't going back. Let's be honest. It's amazing, especially the Montana Jack Rigid. Oh, I love that thing. And anything else that before I go into my little spiel there?
Just travel dates. We want to talk about that real quick. We have Australia coming up. International Federation of Dental Hygienists have their meeting, and that's going to be in August. And then right before that, we're going to be at RDH Under One Roof. I don't know why I'm going backwards in dates, but I'm going backwards in dates. RDH Under One Roof is July 31st through August 2nd, I believe, down in Texas near Dallas. And so we'll be there for that. And then we have ADHA also in Louisville. Louisville. For everyone that wants to know what that is, Louisville.
Louisville.
That's the one. And so that's going to be in June. And so we're definitely going to be at that one as well, especially for you students out there that are going to ADHA's annual conference for the first time. We would love to meet up with you. We can do all sorts of really cool episodes. If you wanted to, just give us a shout out and we'll figure this out with you guys.
Also, for RDH Under One Roof, you can still use that code that we gave to you last time. I believe it was just ATOTH, and that was for $50 off of your registration. Yes, definitely ATOTH. So go ahead and do that. And also send us your recordings and follow us on Instagram and our Facebook, the two guys, the two social medias that matter. And go ahead and send us a message. Go ahead to our website, ataleoftwohygienists.com. You can sign up for our future newsletter that we will have one day and find out some other cool things. You can also listen there. You can find us on YouTube, Pandora, all those places. So enjoy, and thank you guys. We love you the most.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.